throw, swing.
There it is, there it is. Get out, get out. All right.
Hit number 4192.
Swing on and miss. And Tom Browning has pitched a perfect game.
And a high fly ball, center field. He hit it a ton. It's gone. And the 2010 Central Division Championship belongs to the Cincinnati Reds. And Homer Bailey has pitched a no-hitter.
You're listening to the Redlegs Radio Report with Jason and Todd on Bowling Green's home of the Reds, ESPN Radio.
It's Saturday morning. It's time for the Redlegs Radio Report. My name is Jason Harbison. Todd Smith with us here, as always. Partner in crime.
Hey.
Yeah. I like to say right-handed man, but really you're on my left side, so it's pretty much my left. Would that be considered my left-handed man on that, I guess?
I guess so.
I don't know. Yeah. Also in studio with us today, editorial in WKU, upcoming student here, if you will, or possibly NKU, as you were saying, Andrew, as well. MLB draft reporter Andrew Henry. What's up, buddy?
Not much. Just had to come in today, I guess.
Yeah. Well, we're happy to have you. A little bit later, we're going to hear from you on all of your expert talk with the MLB draft that went on this past week. Don't forget to check us out on Facebook, Redlegs Radio Report, and also on our Twitter page at Redlegs Radio Rep. And speaking of Twitter, you probably have seen this, that our guest today, coming up a little bit later, former Red and current Daytona Tortuga coach. That's right, Tortuga, which is like a little kind of turtle, if you will. Lenny Harris is coming on. So I know, Todd, you were excited when we got the news that we were getting him this week because you were a fan. If you look at some of his numbers, the guy had an 18-year career in the majors, and I mean, we'd take him now if you look at his numbers, what he had.
He would be, a couple of points behind Suarez in average.
Yeah. I think he's got like something like I'll have to look it up later, but I think it's something like a 263 lifetime average or something. I'm like, heck, we'd take that.
Yeah.
We'd take that now. I remember.
He could start on this team.
I was going to say he'd be one of the guys that he'd be right in there every day. We wouldn't be arguing over Votto and everybody else and what they're not doing.
Most importantly, he was fundamental. You know, he could, if you needed to move a runner, he would. And,
yeah. So we're really looking forward to talking to him a little bit later as well. So the Reds take one of two from the Cards this week after being rained out on Wednesday. But last night they lost 4-2 from the Nationals. And, of course, Jay Bruce with his first home game for Philly. He got traded from, I believe, Seattle. And, 2-run home run as he comes in there and reminds the Reds that, like, hey, I'm still here. And we were saying off air, too, Todd, that he had actually set the record for Phillies, like the most home runs or something.
4 home runs in 4 games.
Yeah,
three games. Yeah,
in
the
3
only
games.
Philly in history, 3 games, 4 home runs.
Yeah.
Yeah, you think about the rich history of the Phillies and you know,
Mike Schmidt.
Yeah, Mike Schmidt. You know, Dayton's own Mike Schmidt. You know, you look at that, the rich history that they've had there, and you put Jay Bruce's name in that equation. That's nothing to sneeze at. So yeah, definitely. Malley pitched last night. It was a decent outing. Again, he had the no decision because I guess he may have, did he get the loss last night?
He
did get the loss last night, but Barnhart didn't help him any when he threw the ball out in left field and let a run score. So defense last night for the Reds was something to be kind of questioned.
Yeah, but like we talked about earlier before we started the show, the pitch that Bruce hit was a great pitch.
Yeah,
it was down out of the zone, and he just hit it.
Yeah, I mean, you're exactly right. It wasn't a bad pitch at all. Just so happened it ended up in the outfield stands. And really, Votto had a first inning home run, a solo home run. Like always, the guy never really hits when anybody's on. And his swing, we were talking about this too off air.
It could have been a tape measure home run if he actually swung all the way through.
Yeah. He has this thing, and we've talked about it on the show many times, that when he goes up there to take his practice swings, it's almost like he's check swinging. There's even some of those like little GIFs or whatever you want to call them.
I think we should just be happy that he took the bat off his shoulder.
Todd's coming in with the hot takes real early this morning.
Todd's hot takes.
At least he swung.
Yeah. The silver lining to all this, according to Todd Smith, is he got his bat off his shoulder and he's swinging, despite the fact that he didn't swing all the way through. And even his hit that he got last night when he went 2 for 4, it was just kind of, I don't want to say it was an excuse me swing, but it was almost like a check swing went right up the middle.
Yeah.
So
and then he made a good play at first too.
He did. He made that's good point there. He made
credit where it's due.
We will do that. We can't rag on the guy too much for that. So Iglesias is the guy, and we say this week in and week out. He is still getting it done, hitting 294 quietly. I mean, that's just a guy that you almost forget about him because he's not a flashy player. Other than his glove,
yeah.
But I mean, his mouth. He doesn't run his mouth. You never really hear him say much in the post game or the pregame interviews when they do interview him. And it's just he's quietly doing this. He's not kind of one of those big menacing characters. Not that Puig is that, but he's not one of those guys that's going to go out there and they're going to put banners of him up or anything like that. But
where would the Reds be without former Tigers?
That's
so true.
Yeah, that's really true.
Think about that.
I mean,
Suarez.
Yeah.
I mean, look at what he's done while he's been in Cincinnati.
Exactly. I mean, we could probably do an entire show about ex-Tigers.
Maybe the Reds should just trade with Tigers from now on.
They possibly could. I don't know. I mean, but their pitching continually gets it done. I mean, if you ask me, they've dropped a little bit as far as where they are in all of Major League Baseball. They're down to fourth, but they got a 365 team pitching ERA. Rourke with 347, Castillo 238. It's gone up a little bit, but you got to remember, I mean, Castillo started out the season in like the ones.
Yeah.
Gray at 354 this week. Gray had a decent outing, didn't really do too much there. But the thing that we're overlooking here, and especially with Rourke, who is going again today at 3:05 Central, right here on ESPN 102.7, is that they're inning eaters. They're guys like we compare them to Bronson Arroyo. They're going out there and they're eating innings and they're keeping our bullpen in shape, if you will, with that. So I mean, you look at guys.
They're giving them a chance to win. The offense just doesn't do. Last night was a good example with Puig when Winker let off the double. He goes up there and just swings for the fence instead of trying to move the runner. Little things like that win games.
Mm-hmm. Playing small ball can win you games,
and they don't do it.
Well, and two, you look at those guys in the middle relief there. Lorenzen. Last night, Hughes came in and pitched 2 shutout innings. I mean, the guy was getting it done. Those are the things, those intangibles,
Not
if you
a day
will.
You'll give up 11 hits.
Yeah, I just jinxed it. They'll bring him in
the 7th inning.
Yeah, they'll get Rourke. They'll run Rourke like in the first inning or something after giving up like 8 runs, and they'll bring in the bullpen, and then they'll just give up about 10 more. So that's the Redlegs Radio Report jinx. So, Andrew, we want to talk a little bit with you today, sir. Of course, this past week was the MLB draft. And the one thing that we always like to say, too, with you being a huge Reds fan, of course, and also a big baseball fan, been meaning to get you in for a long time, and I'm glad that you were able to come in this morning with us on and talk a little bit about the draft, because there's one thing that we've always said, and I've heard Marty say this, too. It's like the MLB draft, people kind of equate it with all the pomp and circumstance. Of course, you turn on MLB TV, and they've got the big, kind of room that looks like a Major League Baseball field, and they've got the tables set up there, and kind of the hotlines and all of that stuff. But really, it's nothing like the NFL draft. It's nothing like the NBA draft. It's probably closer maybe to the NHL draft, but you can't expect guys to come straight. First of all, you really don't even know the names. There's a lot of high schoolers. There's college guys from small colleges. You've never even heard of their college. And the fact that they're going to make an impact right away like you would in the NFL, or you would, if you're coming out of Ohio State or something like that, you're probably, and you're a number 1 draft pick, or first 2 rounds even, you're probably going to play for the Chargers or whatever team drafts you. But that's not necessarily the case in Major League Baseball, is it, Andrew?
No. So most of the time, you only hear about maybe the first, second, and third pick in the draft. Mm-hmm. But with 40 rounds, and it's not really nationally televised on like ESPN or anything, they don't talk about any of the players throughout the season. They don't do any of that, and most of the time they're in the minors for the first 2, 3, 4 years. Their career.
And that's the thing too. It's like we can talk till we're blue in the face, Todd, about how the difference between drafting somebody from high school and drafting somebody from college, and what the difference is. And if you're at a school like an SEC school, or heck, even Western here, in Conference USA, they say that that's basically a guy playing at about double A ball or maybe high A level. And then some of the other players, like out of high school, they may send down to Greenville. We were talking off air, but tell us just a little bit, Andrew, about like the first couple guys that the Reds got, because there was a lot of people talking that some of the pitching that was out there was like a really, really bad class, and they were saying, I even heard some of the experts, and I'm using air quotes, saying that like this is the worst pitching class for a draft in like the last 30 years. So just tell us a little bit about like the first couple guys that the Reds got.
So in the first round, the Reds had the 7th pick. They took left-handed pitcher out of TCU, Nick Lodolo.
Mm-hmm.
He was actually drafted by the Pirates in 2016, but he decided not to sign.
Mm-hmm.
They say he has a really good fastball. It's usually 90 to 94, can reach 96. They say mid-rotation, like a number 3 starter.
Yeah.
He has like a lower slot, like a 3/4 arm slot. He'll probably start out in like Dayton.
Mm-hmm.
The highest is probably Daytona.
Yeah. He may probably move up to Daytona by the end of the season or something like that. But yeah, you're probably right. He'll probably start out in Daytona, which would be nice because we could see him here in Bowling Green when they play the Hot Rods. And Todd, you were joking off air. He's like, I hope he's not as bad as the last TCU. Who was that? Brett Finnegan?
Brandon Finnegan.
Anyway, I interrupted you, Andrew. Go ahead with like some of the more second rounds there or whatever that the Reds got. Some of the guys to watch out for.
Yeah. So second round, the Reds selected Reese Hines out of IMG Academy down in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
They say he's got like Joey Gallo. He's a lot like him with his hitting.
Really?
A lot of swing and miss, but a lot of power.
Mm-hmm.
He could sign with the Reds, but he's committed currently to LSU, so we don't know currently, if he's going to sign.
Right.
But they say he's probably going to end up a third baseman in the MLB because of how tall he is and his stature.
Well, really, and that's the thing too. You have to understand with high school players. I mean, there's a chance. Like you talked about the first round draft guy. He didn't even sign with the Pirates a couple years ago, and now he's signing with the Reds. So there's a good chance. Now, the one thing I guess the factor in that is like, well, if you're in a high round, this guy's in the second round, that he could possibly sign because of the signing bonus. I mean, you get into some of the later rounds and you get drafted around there. It's like, well, I'll stay in school or I'll go to college. Kind of maybe I can be a higher draft pick in 2-3 years, get my feet wet. In the SEC, like you were saying with LSU. So that's another kind of factor in there as well.
Yeah. Also, Tyler Callahan, he's already signed with the Reds. He's the third round pick.
Mm-hmm.
They project him to be kind of a middle infielder because of his arm strength.
Mm-hmm.
He's coming out as a third baseman, as a really good advanced approach with his hitting.
Mm-hmm.
He signed for $105 million,
which seems like a lot. It's a lot of money to the three guys in this room. But in the grand scheme of things in baseball, it's a lot of money, but it's not really that much money when you're talking baseball signings. So yeah. Anyway, I interrupted you. Sorry. Go ahead.
He'll probably Greenville, I'd say, is where he's going to start off. And if Hines signs, he'll probably go to Greenville, and those two will pair up there.
Mm-hmm.
Both of them, they said they have really good bats, really good power. Defensively, you just got to come along when you get to the majors.
Right. And we talked to, switching gears, we're going to talk more about the draft after our Lenny Harris interview here coming up. But Western got a guy drafted this past week, too. So tell us a little more about that real quick.
So Jake Sanford is an outfielder for Western, or was an outfielder for Western. He got drafted in the third round by the Yankees.
I mean, that's not too shabby. I mean, we're not talking like Mike Piazza rounds here, like round 76 or whatever it was, that he got drafted, and the chances of him making the majors were slim to none. But that's pretty good for Western there. I mean, and the Yankees nonetheless,
definitely
drafting him. So I didn't get we talked, I know, off air a little bit. I didn't get a chance to see much of the Western games this year, but they had a decent team and stuff. So that's good for Western. Every year, Western is getting guys drafted. And granted, if they ever make the majors, who knows? But I mean, I think that's great. It speaks to Western's program here in our own backyard. So I think that's all good stuff. So, Andrew, we'll be talking to you again here after, like I said, after the interview with Lenny Harris, which is coming up after this commercial break. So stay tuned right here to the Redlegs Radio Report, ESPN Radio 102.7 and ESPN Radio 1027.com.
Okay, I'm on 65 right now. Which exit do I take?
You're going to want to take I-165.
No, I'm on I-65.
No, take I-165. Should be on the sign.
I'm pretty sure that's not a 1 there. I'm pretty sure that's just another I. I-65?
Aye. Well, ahoy, Polloy.
Look, I'm looking at it. I just don't see a 1 there. It's just I-6.
Suffering from post-natural confusion? See Gary Force Paint and Body Shop. iCar Gold Shop, certified with a lifetime warranty. 311 Vanderbilt Drive behind the Scottsville Road Post Office.
This is a Morgan & Morgan consumer message.
Every time I drive, I see so many billboards for lawyers and law firms. And many don't even have a name, just a big phone number. And then in tiny words on the very bottom, they have the firm's name. And I always wondered, is their name small because they're a small firm? I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. When you're injured, you're usually fighting against the other side's insurance company. Geico, Allstate, State Farm. These are big companies that want to pay you as little as possible. But our army of over 400 lawyers and 2,000 case staff, the largest personal injury law firm in the world, has a history and track record of going up against them and winning. When you're injured, size does matter. And you can now reach us by dialing pound law on your cell phone. That's pound 529. Pound law, that's all. Morgan & Morgan, forthepeople.com. Offices Bowling Green.
Years ago, to get food from the Outback, you'd have to go out and hunt it yourself. But now the Outback comes to you. Outback Steakhouse at Bowling Green now delivers all your Aussie faves, from bloomin' onions to signature sirloins to work at home. What could be better after a day of hard yakking? Just click or tap over to Outback.com, select delivery, put in your address, choose your favorites, and we send it on over faster than a roo, and a lot less kicky too. Outback Steakhouse at Bowling Green, now delivering. Visit Outback.com to get started, or stop by anytime, 3260 Scottsville Road.
Something's on fire! Quick, put it out!
Oh, it's filled with... Ew.
Ew! Look, there's a note. Humans, stop leaving your pet waste on the ground. It washes down the storm drain and straight into our water. We're sick of it. Signed, the fish?
It's time we all did our part to stop polluting Kentucky's waterways. To find out how you can help, visit stormwater.ky.gov. Brought to you by the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet.
Welcome back to the Redlegs Radio Report here in Bowling Green, Kentucky. Jason Harbison, Todd Smith with you on this wonderful, wonderful, soon-to-be soggy morning in Bowling Green, Kentucky. So our first guest today is a former Red from 1988 to 1989 and also 94 and 98, and a major leaguer for 18 years. He is currently a coach for the Reds High A team in Daytona, the Daytona Tortugas. He's also been a coach at all levels of the minor leagues, including some time in Major League Baseball. Please welcome to the show, everyone, Lenny Harris. Lenny, how you doing this morning, sir?
I'm doing pretty good, and yourself?
Oh, we're doing well. We're so glad that you could join us today on the show. A lot of people are looking forward to hearing what you have to say, so we'll get right to it. What are some of your fondest memories, Lenny, of your time in Cincinnati?
Getting to the big leagues. For one thing, I never thought I'd make it to the big leagues. I had a lot of people telling me I won't make it and things like that, but my dream came true, get an opportunity. Pete Rose always told me that as long as you keep hustling, you'll play for a long time, and I just did everything he said, and everything happened.
And really, 18 years is nothing to sneeze at, regards to the fact that you weren't with Cincinnati the entire time, but what do you attribute your long, you talked about hustling there like Pete told you to do, is that what you attribute your long career to?
Yeah. It was a motivation for me for my game preparation. A lot of kids don't understand what game preparation is, so that's why we're here to kind of teach them. But I kind of went along the way because it was always the Cincinnati Reds way. It was always hustling and playing hard. So when you do those things, your game seems to develop better. So I always kept that in stage. Because Pete used to always tell me, hey, if you're going to play for a long time in this game, you gotta hustle. You got to play hard. And that's what I did. And my skills just took over from there.
It's not funny that you say this, but you said the Cincinnati Reds way. We've had a lot of guys that played for the Reds coming up through the 80s as well as the 90s. I can remember Todd, Gary Reedus coming on, and they keep saying that the Cincinnati Reds way. And that to me, you saying that's just amazing to me that was actually a thing.
Yeah, definitely. We're trying to get back to that situation with the coaching, with the people in the organization, like Sean Pender. He knows what it's like. Eric Davis, Barry Larkin. It just brought back a bunch of Red guys to teach these guys the way that we used to do it back in the days. And it's also getting better. You know, it's taking a little time, but we're getting back to the ways that we used to do, and go out there and play hard and just win ball games. So, you know, it's got caught up with a lot of individual stats and stuff where the kids are playing now. So we're just trying to get them back to the Reds way so they don't have to go out there and worry about their individual stats.
Lenny, this is Todd. You hold the record for the most pinch hits with 212 and spent your entire career in the National League. So you were a pinch hitter and, you know, not a DH. Is that a point of pride in your major league career?
Well, in a way, because I remember when I had 100 pitch hits and Ronnie Oster told me one time, he said, you know, you're 50 away from the league leader. And I didn't even know who was the league leader. You know, I just went out there and played. So he said, it's a guy called Matty Mota. I ain't never heard of him. And I just kept playing, and I just kept playing and kept playing. Next thing you know, I'm ending up in New York, and here I am getting ready to break his record. So it just came all of a sudden. You know, when you don't think about it, you just go out there and play as hard as you can. You know, records are meant to be broken. And that's what I always said. My dad always told me that. But as long as you stay focused and just keep going and playing hard, which we have gotten away from that part of the game. And once we get back to that game, it will be a lot of records broken. But, you know, especially winning at the same time.
Again, we're talking with Lenny Harris today on the Redlegs Radio Report. Lenny, this is Jason again. You played almost every position, including a few times you came into pitch during some blowout games. Is that kind of a thing of the past that we're not really seeing in today's game? You know, a player that's just kind of pretty much a utility player like yourself.
Well, those guys are not hanging around too much long. You know, these guys, you know, they're not going with the veteran guys. A lot of teams are setting back and, you know, going with a lot of young teams. But when you see the veteran teams work and things like that, you always see those guys in the hunt for a playoff. So, you know, once, you know, some kids are getting a chance, which I'm not taking away, that's good. I hope everybody gets a chance to play in the big league level. But I just think that, you know, a strong team will have a good bench and some older players who've been around to help them down the stretch. And that's what I did for many years.
Lenny, it's Todd again. The top draft pick, Jonathan India, is there in Daytona with you. Who are some of the other guys coming up through the Reds farm system that you've seen you think we should be watching out for?
I think Jose Garcia is going to be a good one, too. He's a shortstop and outstanding player, young talent. I mean, he's going to be pretty good. I think his skills are based upon a little more than Jonathan, but they're about the same. Jonathan just is starting to come into his own, and what is killing me right now, I think the organization is probably about to move him up, and that's going to really hurt this ball club that we here on Daytona because he's a beast. He's going to be a good player, and I'm just happy for him. He had a big night last night for us. He had 3 for 5 with a home run and things like that, but it goes to show you the Reds are, excuse me?
Yeah, in Daytona right now, you guys are 32-29, and really you're right in the middle of the pack. A couple games back, I believe, about 5 games back of the Florida State League. You talked to, of course, about some of those guys. Andy Seguillo, I believe, is hitting .282, and Packy Naughton is one of your pitchers that's got like a .263 ERA with 5 wins. That it's been raising some eyebrows up in Cincinnati, I know for sure. Yeah,
definitely. Those guys are playing well, but what I was just saying that, back in our days, we would come up and with a group of guys that they would keep us there the whole year and see what we're made of for a whole year. But now, these days, those guys are getting hot. They're developing real fast, which the organization is doing pretty good. And before you know it, they're going to be big leaguers, and that's what this league is all about right now. And that's where baseball is headed. These guys develop fast enough, and they understand what's going on, and they're getting a chance to spend good time in the minor leagues. But, like a guy like Jonathan Indian, I think he's just about there. I mean, he's fighting for position and stuff, and I think he's getting the opportunity right now because he's learning at a tougher level. And who knows, if he goes up to AA during the second half of the season, I think he's going to be good. We got some sleeping guys here and the organization is building it up slowly but surely. But I'm sure those guys are going to have a chance to play in the big leagues. But hopefully they can stay here a little longer so we can get a chance to clinch a division or something around here. But, it's fun to see them go up, and that's what it's all about. When they're getting graduated and moving on up, I just feel that their time is due, and that's what it's all about, playing at the next level.
I agree wholeheartedly. Again, we're talking with Lenny Harris, of course, the former Red and current coach for the Daytona Tortugas High A level. Lenny, you've coached really at every level in the majors and minors. Is your kind of big goal to eventually be an MLB manager?
Sometimes it comes apart to me and things like that. But, like I said, whatever happens, happens. I love to teach. I'm having fun with it. I enjoy it every day of my life. And when that time comes, if I have an opportunity for it, I will take it. But right now I enjoy being with the kids because it makes me feel like when I was a kid, what I went through, what I had to hustle for, things like that to get to reach my goals. So the kids understand when I talk to them about it because I try to motivate them at the same time.
Lenny, it's Todd again. Part of 87 and 88, you were just down the road from us in Nashville. You put up some big numbers there. What were some of your fondest memories there?
I remember playing with Skeeter Barnes, and he used to always tell me, and he said, when you get a taste of the big leagues, I don't want you to be hard-headed. He used to always give me a hard time and things like that. But he was a guy, mentor for me that told me that, as long as you keep playing hard, you never know, the sky's the limit for you. But my memories was there when I had hit 2 home runs in one game. And then he said, I don't know why the Reds sent you back because I think you should stay up there, if it was up to me. But that was something I had. I didn't do that in a while. I had 2 home runs coming back to Nashville and things like that. But, baseball was fun back in them days. It was something that we played for. We were so angered to get out there and play and things like that. But that was one of my favorite memories back in Nashville.
Yeah, you mentioned Skeeter Barnes. We've had him on the show a couple times here because in our town here in Bowling Green, we have the Bowling Green Hot Rods, which is with the Ray system. And Skeeter is a roving instructor for them, and he's come on the show a couple times. I believe they've even retired his number down in Nashville. That's how great his time. No, they really. I think it was 00, wasn't it, Todd? They've retired.
Yeah, definitely. I never seen a guy bunt so well with a runner on third base. Less than 1 out. It was unbelievable. It was just something to see all the time because nobody ever thought about that. And now these days, everything is all about swinging and hitting. But small ball can win you games too. And Skeeter was a guy who can hit 25 to 30 home runs too, but he still would lay a butt down.
We've got some.
So funny.
I love having him on too because he would talk about, and we can ask you the same question too, Lenny. That he talked about some of those old baseball stadiums, and I still remember he said on the air, he's like, I still have boogers in my nose from playing up in Toledo and that just dusty bowl of that. I'm sure you could probably talk till you're blue in the face about some of your time in the minors before. Really, some of the stadiums are nicer than maybe Oakland and Tampa have now in the majors, in the minors. But back in the day when you guys were playing, some of those places, I hate to use the word dump, but they were kind of dilapidated to say the least.
Yeah, definitely like Burlington, Vermont. I always thought that was like where they raised cows at on a farm and stuff, but they made a baseball field out of it. That's why I tell the guys now how lucky they are playing in beautiful ballparks. You can smell popcorn where you can smell cow shit when I was playing and things like that. So, they're pretty much lucky, man. Guys are lucky here getting the opportunity to play in some great ballparks. And I kind of throw it back at some of the guys and tell them, and they look at me like, I don't believe you and things like that. And sometimes I have to go back and see if I can find pictures of those old stadiums that I played in, Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and things like that. So, now I heard in Cedar Rapids, they got newer ballparks. Mm-hmm. We played in back of barns and things like that, which the guys, they never believed me, but I ended up showing them pictures. They was like, man, you guys played there? So it make me feel like the dinosaur days sometimes. But I said I made the best of it. I had fun. But I said the way you guys got it made now, you guys in hog heaven.
Well, and really, Nashville, that stadium was an older stadium. They just built a new one a couple of years ago for them. But that was the one you played in. I believe it was called Greer Stadium. Was just torn down.
Greer Stadium.
It was. There's still part of it down there. I think they just tore down the big. What was it? The scoreboard that was shaped like the guitar. And
the big guitar and stuff.
Yeah. So those are really cool moments, I'm sure, that you cherish. And here's kind of a question about that, Lenny, too. Is it hard with? I mean, you say Daytona. I mean, there's so much going on in Daytona. Does that kind of, it's such a great area. People go there all the time for vacation. I mean, is it tough to kind of motivate some of the players down there, because it seems like there's probably a million other things to do than going to a ball game?
Yeah, it's a lot of things going on, which you can hear the trucks out here making all this noise because they have truck weekend this weekend right now, and I live out on the beach and things like that, and that's all I hear. There's always something going on out here, and that's why I try to aware the kids, because I tell the kids that you guys are big targets. You got to be careful. You're ball players. You're the biggest thing that's going on here, especially like on Thursdays. The ballpark is always packed. People know who you are. You got to be careful in a small town like this. Don't, be hanging out late at night and drinking and things like that, because you never know who's watching. So I kind of give them the whole 9 yards and let them know that they are targets. You're not invisible, so you have to really be careful out here in a town like this, because, everybody comes to the ball game, especially now. Everybody's coming to the ball game, especially when you're winning and things like that. So, it's just a burden that I have to let the kids know that there's a lot of things going on in this town, especially on the weekends.
Well, it sounds like almost like I don't want to say a good problem to have, that you've got such a great team down there, as well as you said, everybody's coming to the ballparks. I even saw that you had I think there was a Star Wars night coming up, or you had one recently or something like that.
Yeah, we just had one, and it was huge.
That's
we wear like 5, so far we wore like 6, 7 different jerseys since I've been here. It's amazing how, the Star Wars night, we wear, Back to the Future jerseys and things like that. So it's always something going on. Promotion is really big here in Daytona.
Well, and that's really true about all of baseball, too, now. I mean, you look at the Reds, wearing all of those 15 different uniforms for, their 150th year anniversary. And I'm sure, I mean, it's just a marketing thing, and I think it's great. And it kind of goes back to what you were saying earlier, Lenny, about how, you were playing in the back of barns. Now they've got all these different theme nights, if it's a Harry Potter night, if it's a Star Wars night, whatever.
Exactly. It's fun, especially for the kids, because they pull out their phones and they take pictures and put it on Instagram. So they're amazed by it, too. So as long as the kids are having fun and enjoying it, and that's what baseball is all about.
Absolutely. Well, Lenny Harris, thank you so much for calling into the Redlegs Radio Report today. I could talk to you for another half hour, or actually another probably 5 hours if we didn't have to go to some commercial breaks. But good luck to you down there in Daytona, and we hope to see you at some of the Reds functions coming up here in the coming year or so, sir.
Okay. Thank you guys very much. I was glad to be there.
All right. Thanks so much, Lenny. We'll talk to you later.
All right. Bye.
Man, I tell you, Todd, I love talking to the old school players. And to say old school, I don't even know if that's a thing. Is that a thing, Andrew? Because I know to you, he wasn't really around when you were, a kid growing up. But just listen to those stories. The fact that he brought up Skeeter Barnes like that.
Yeah. I could have asked him 15 more questions and probably got him going pretty good.
Yeah. And I mean, he kept going and going. And I mean, there's a guy that gets it. He understands it. He understands all the marketing behind baseball, and he's like, man, you not that he was pulling the old man card or anything, but he's like, you guys don't know how good you got it. You got the Star Wars theme night, you got all these different jerseys, these things going on, you're here in Daytona. Who wouldn't want to play in Daytona? I mean, even last year, the Reds had a team in Pensacola down there.
Yeah, that'd be great to play down there.
I mean, I just want to go. I mean, for instance, we're going to go on vacation here in a couple of weeks down to Pensacola. Oh, by the way, there's a baseball team down there. There's a million things to do. It's like, maybe I'll go to the beach today, and then, oh, by the way, we'll go to a baseball game that night.
Yeah, especially with the age of those guys. I'm sure they have to keep them corralled a little bit.
Oh, on a beach down there? I mean, yeah, just short of, like, not wearing your jersey out on the main strip there or whatever, I mean, they are going to be targeted. They're going to be, some of those guys that you rattle off there to us, Andrew, are going to be playing down there in the coming years, if not the end of this season. So you got there's targets on their back. You got to kind of watch out for them. People are trying to get them in trouble. They're trying to give them this, give them that. So that's got to be something that's in the back of those young players' mind, even those parents' minds, as they're sending their children. I say children, they're young adults, but their children off to make that dream of getting into the majors and not screwing up in a town like Pensacola or Daytona.
Type of women trying to latch on.
Yeah, exactly.
Everything that goes along with it.
Right. We could probably talk a little more about that, but maybe off air on that. We're going to take a break. We got a lot more Reds talk coming up and coming your way, and Andrew's going to break down a little more about the draft for us here, right here on ESPN Radio 102.7 and ESPN Radio 1027.com.
For the 48th year, Kiwanis Club of Bowling Green is hosting Thunderfest at the National Corvette Museum Amphitheater. As Bowling Green's largest and longest running fireworks show, we are thankful for the continued support of our title sponsor, Meyer Corporate. We would also like to thank Flora Templeton Stewart, J.C. Kirby & Sons, and Service One Credit Union for their support this year. My name is Heather Hawkins, and I am honored to be chairing Thunderfest 2019. I'm proud to say all proceeds from this event are distributed to local children's organizations. Thunderfest will be held on Wednesday, July 3rd, with gates opening at 4 p.m. We hope to see you there to kickstart your Independence Day celebrations with us.
This is a Morgan & Morgan consumer message.
Can I tell you what I think makes the insurance industry happiest of all? When so many people refuse to make a claim because they're afraid their rates will increase. If you're in a one-car accident as a passenger and don't file a claim, no matter who the driver is, the insurance company wins and you lose. Protect your family and your future, not your insurance company. Morgan & Morgan, forthepeople.com. Offices, Bowling Green.
Do you have our list of questions for the doctor?
Yes, I do.
Do you have a notepad to write down the answers?
Yes, dear.
How about a pen?
Honey, we're just getting screened for heart disease. I think it's great how much you want to keep us healthy and use these preventive services that Medicare now covers, but I'm sure if we have any questions later, we can call the doctor.
You forgot the pen, didn't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Staying healthy means more good times with the people you love. So why not take control of your health and talk to your doctor about screening for heart disease? If there's nothing wrong, you'll know, or you'll know what steps to take to get better. Remember, Medicare does cover this and other preventive benefits. For more information, visit Medicare.gov or call 1-800-MEDICARE. Take control by getting a heart disease screening. And bring someone you love.
Mr. and Mrs. Grabowski, the doctor is ready to see you.
Can I borrow your pen?
Oh, good idea, sweetie.
Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Clean your classic car or truck, then join Brewster's Cruisin' for a Cure. This Tuesday, cruising will take place at Brewster's, 5 to 8 p.m., 2712 Scottsville Road. Brewster's Cruisin' for a Cure. Help out the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation and Alzheimer's Foundation, along with benefiting Hospice of Southern Kentucky. Brewster's Cruisin' for a Cure. Tuesday night at Brewster's, 5 to 8 on Scottsville Road. Bring out your classic car or truck and help out this great cause with J.C. Kirby and Son.
This is This Date in Reds Baseball, brought to you by Cincinnati USA Regional Tourism Network.
If there was ever a day the Reds were both good and lucky, it was this June 8th, 1965. And it all happened off the field when the Reds participated in the first ever draft of amateur players. And the Reds picked Bernie Carbo as their first choice, and not a bad pick. Carbo was a starter in 70 and 71. But it was the second pick when they hit pay dirt. The Reds picked a catcher, the 8th catcher chosen in the draft, the 36th player selected overall. The Reds picked Johnny Bench, a very smart move to get him, and thank goodness he was still available. June 8, 1965, Johnny Bench signs with Cincinnati. This date in Reds baseball.
This Date in Reds Baseball with team historian Greg Rhodes is brought to you by CincinnatiUSA.com, the official travel guide of Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky. CincinnatiUSA.com.
It's the Redlegs Radio Report. Jason Harbison, Todd Smith, Andrew Henry sitting in with us. I think, Todd, if we had more show, we could probably still be talking to Lenny Harris.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had, at least 3 or 4 more questions I wanted.
Yeah. He...
we should have kept him up, and he wasn't ready to go.
Yeah, that's true. We could probably call him back right now and get him back on the line.
Hey, Lenny, we're not done.
Yeah. Lenny, we just took a commercial break. We're kind of coming back here. I know we told you you've probably gone off and done some other those fun things we were talking about in Daytona, but yeah, could you go on and on? But and as we were saying off air, we must have the uncanny ability to get our guests, and we've been doing this for 8 years now. But for whatever reason, on live air, we get people to say cuss words, and we don't have a dump button here. And it's not like we're asking them to. Maybe we just have that ability. Maybe our soothing radio voices, Todd, just bring that out in people. Between Sam LeCure dropping a couple words that you can't say, and which was kind of funny to me because he's on TV, he knows better.
Any guy that played in the majors knows better.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, you and I have been a handful of times been around a lot of the players, kind of behind the scenes, or even the old guys at like Reds Fest and stuff. If you get them off stage or whatever, or you're up in a green room, something like that, and it is like a locker room. Yeah. You know, just their. I mean, even old guys like that. That's the thing that I think probably gets guys like Pete Rose in trouble in today's society.
Even Wayne Granger.
Yeah, those old guys. They just act like they're still, short of like winding up a towel and smacking somebody in the hind end.
Yeah, I met Pete. I've met him 2 or 3 times actually. Mm-hmm. And when I was a kid, I met him, and then we actually sat in the
auxiliary press box,
3 or 4 feet of him at the All-Star game, and he is the same.
Yeah,
hasn't changed one bit.
Yeah, and that's probably what gets him in so much trouble too. Well, many things get Pete Rose in trouble, but the one thing is more or less his mindset. He thinks the whole world is in that. But anyway,
yeah, he is what he is.
Yeah, I don't want to get into that and turn the show too much into that. So if you missed any of that of our Lenny Harris interview, which was really great, ESPN Radio 1027.com. You can check us out in the podcast form there. All of our shows are up online. That should be up around Monday. You can check that out. I always go back and listen to it because, more for not for what we're saying in the first couple segments, but more for
to listen to hear how dumb we sound.
Well, yeah, I don't have to tune in and waste my time knowing how dumb we sound. No, it's
saw it live.
This is going great.
I was here to experience it firsthand, Todd. Thank you very much. No, but I'll go back and I'll listen to hear some of the takes because usually. With everything's going on with these computers here or whatever, we're kind of doing other things as they're answering, and I just kind of go back and kind of listen to it and absorb it a little more of what they're saying because I think it's great. What he was saying is amazing because he's right. Some of these kids coming up through the farm system right now are just. He says he was even saying that India's ready for the majors right now. The guys. Down in...
well, bring him up. Maybe he can put the ball, the bat on the ball.
Yeah, he's hitting 257 at 8 home runs, 22 RBIs. I mean, we interviewed him. I mean, he's one of those level-headed, kids, I say. But, get him up here. Get him... I think he's still a couple levels away. At high A, he's still got to go to Double A Chattanooga and then, of course, to Louisville. I'm saying that now as I wear a Louisville Bats hat. And, I'm surprised you didn't say anything, Todd, because I'm just a contradiction. You're usually commenting on my outfits. I'm wearing a Columbus Clippers shirt and a Louisville Bats hat here, which is just like 2 different teams that play against one another in the International League, and it's just kind of like, well, who are you rooting for here, idiot? But I just threw a hat on. But anyway, Andrew, we want to hear some more information about some of those later round drafts. You talked about really the first 2 round draft picks that the Reds have, and where you think they're going to end up. But and we talked about, of course, Western had a guy that got drafted by the Yankees, but who are some of guys in maybe the later drafts and maybe some people are not really thinking about that could kind of surprise us?
So, even AJ Bumpus from the University of Cincinnati.
Yeah.
They got him in the 39th round this year. He did really good. Actually, he had the game-winning hit. Mm-hmm. Well, it was a game-winning hit, brought in 3 RBIs to help them beat Oregon State in the first round of the regional.
Yeah, I saw that. That was big news. That actually made it onto the Reds broadcast that day when he did that. So that's how big that was.
Yeah, the Reds had selected him before, also a couple years ago, in the 20s. Mm-hmm. He's been around Cincinnati for a while. He participated in the RBI, and he played in a tournament at the Urban Youth Academy in 2014. Mm-hmm. So that's one guy.
Yeah, I mean his name alone, Bumpus. It's spelled like something that we can't say on the air that Lenny Harris might be able to. But yeah, it's spelled that way. That's going to be a cool baseball name. we talked about Packy Naughton. That's a cool name too. The guy that's the pitcher down in Daytona who's tearing it up down there. Packy Naughton.
He's no Buzz Costanza.
Buzz Costanza. Now, you just made me have to do some more work during our next commercial break. I got to pick up the Buzz Costanza's greatest moments. Not so great moments in baseball history. Okay, I got to get Buzz Costanza. Thanks, Todd, for giving me work during this this commercial break.
You bet.
Yeah, but really, those guys down in Daytona, like we said, moving their way up to Chattanooga and up to Louisville. There's really the transition period for them getting into, and that's what we've talked to. Switching gears a little bit about Kimbrel and finally signing with the Cubs and Keuchel to the Braves. What does this mean for the Reds in their division? Of course, one going to the Braves, one going to the Cubs. It probably means more about the Cubs, but to me, Todd, this is my correlation with the minor leagues. They're going to have to come up through the minor leagues to get kind of their sea legs, if you will, back on. Are these good moves, or are these just kind of the way baseball is going now, where they let these guys sit for the entire, basically, through spring training and all the way up into the first part of the season, and now they sign them?
Yeah, well, it is kind of the way things are going, but, it's a little bit of, Keuchel wanted a 5-year contract. He's, 32?
30, yeah, early 30s.
That's a long contract.
Yeah.
Especially for a guy that works every 5th day. So.
A lot of the teams also didn't want to sign them because of the compensation picks that they would have to give away because of signing them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of people were saying that too. Well, the reason they waited till after the draft so they wouldn't have to do that. So, again, that's just kind of like the way that baseball is now. You can talk about fair market value and all of those things, but they're trying to save money and do these things. They basically were trying to weigh their options and see, well, we may have some injuries this first quarter pole of the season. Let's see if we need these guys, and then let's sign them. So it's basically like if we have extra money in the bank. But I don't know. I hope this isn't the way that the baseball is going. The last time I can remember this, of course, was, I'm sure it's happened a couple times, but, in like Roger Clemens years ago, that they signed him late, and then he had this kind of like this hero's welcome at every minor league team that he went to. And it was just... to me, and that's what's going to happen here with both these guys, because there's no way that they can, even if they've been with a coach all this offseason, or their offseason, if you will.
Well, Kimbrel will probably, a couple of games in the minors, and he'll be ready to go. Keuchel's, it'll take a month.
Yeah, the earliest he's going to get here is going to be after the All-Star break, in July. It's not going to be anything like, well, okay, we signed him, let's get him a jersey. It's going to take him a while to kind of get him going up to game speed. So
I think Kimbrel and Keuchel, those were the two teams that kind of really needed those two guys. But if the Reds want to do something in the division, they've got to start hitting.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a lot harder when Kimbrel finally gets to Chicago.
Yeah, I believe you're right, Andrew. And people are like, oh, well, the Reds could have signed either one of these guys. I don't know that the Reds actually need them. They've got the pitching right now. What they need is somebody that's unsigned free agent or whatever.
Before the season, it looked like they needed to sign him. Now that
True.
The staff is not the problem. It's timely hitting. It's fundamentals that cost the Reds games over and over and over again, and throwing pick-off throws into left field and
Which a lot of people thought it was going to be the other way around.
Oh yeah, we said on this show many times it was the pitching's going to be the pitching is not the problem. It's the hitting. So we're going to take a quick break here on the Redlegs Radio Report. If you want to, give us a call 270-782-1945. That's 270-782-1945. Don't forget to check us out on our Twitter page at Redlegs Radio Rep. We put out some tweets there and quotes from Lenny Harris. Just stay tuned right here to the Redlegs Radio Report on ESPN Radio 102.7, ESPN Radio 1027.com.
We inherited this business from our father.
Who got it from his father.
We needed an emergency preparedness plan in case of fire, cyber attack,
or anything.
So we went to Ready.gov and got free checklists, templates, and more to be prepared. Thanks to Ready.gov, we worry less about keeping Rizzo and Sons in business.
Only it should be Rizzo and Grandsons.
And granddaughter.
Right.
Go to Ready.gov for details on creating an emergency preparedness plan. Becoming a success is hard work. Protecting it isn't. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, the Ad Council, and this station.
This is a Morgan & Morgan consumer message.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. One of the first things clients ask me is, what is my case worth? It depends on the injury, liability, and damages. And in most cases, it depends on the lawyer you hire. all lawyers are not the same. I would like to invite you to visit forthepeople.com to see what your case might be worth. You will see injuries like yours, offers made by the insurance company, and verdicts made by juries. We try more cases than any firm in America every year. Insurance companies know which law firms try cases and which firms settle cheap. Your case value is different in the hands of different lawyers. There was only one Babe Ruth, and then hundreds and hundreds of minor league players. I've been around now a long time, fought countless battles. We are fighters who take on giants. In some cases, you hired your lawyer without doing your research, and you can just as quickly fire them if you now think you made a mistake. You only get one swing of the plate. Morgan & Morgan, forthepeople.com. Offices, Bowling Green.
Remember when your mother used to say, "Don't let the bed bugs bite," when she tucked you in? Well, guess what? Bed bugs are real. They do feed at night, and they're on the rise throughout the United States. But with the right knowledge, you can minimize the serious health and property threats posed by common pests like bed bugs, termites, and rodents. To learn how, visit pestworld.org. This message brought to you by the National Pest Management Association.
Bowling Green Refrigeration, Heating, and Cooling is a very reputable HVAC company with over 25 years of keeping those of us in South Central Kentucky's comfort their concern. And right now they have a rare opportunity to join their team. Are you a licensed HVAC technician or journeyman? Are you currently in this industry and don't feel challenged? If so, Bowling Green Refrigeration, Heating, and Cooling would like for you to come by their offices at 130 Vanderbilt Court and apply in person for this rewarding extenuation of your career. Bowling Green Refrigeration, Heating, and Cooling team members enjoy excellent benefits including competitive wages, cell phone, company truck, uniforms, paid holidays, paid vacations, insurance, just to name a few. If all this sounds good and you're a licensed and highly motivated HVAC journeyman and would like to inquire about joining this established company, you can also give Brad Thomas a call at 270-782-5391 and schedule a time to sit down with them. Equal opportunity employer.
This Cincinnati Reds Hall of Fame moment features an historic moment for the organization and for Major League Baseball. On June 10th, 1944 at Crosley Field, the Reds were being manhandled by the St. Louis Cardinals 13-0 going into the ninth inning. Manager Bill McKechnie put the ball in the hands of a 15-year-old kid who had just completed the ninth grade. In that moment, Hamilton's own Joe Nuxall entered the record books as the youngest player since 1900 to play in the majors.
I'm nervous, and the first batter, and I think it was Emil Verva, but I'm not sure. But nevertheless, he grounded out to short. And the second batter up, I go 3-2 on him, and I walk him. The third batter up, he pops out to short. The fourth batter, I got him 0-2. No balls, 2 strikes. And now I realize where I am at. I'm not at Wilson Junior High, and I don't like to use profanity. But all hell broke loose.
Nuxall's official line, 2/3 of an inning, 2 hits, 5 runs all earned, and 5 walks. He faced 10 batters and left the game with a 67.50 ERA. He would return to the Reds in 1952 and play 16 seasons, all but one in a Reds uniform. After hanging up his spikes in 1966, he moved to the broadcast booth and became one of the most beloved favorite sons the Queen City has ever produced. This Reds Hall of Fame moment is brought to you by the Cincinnati Reds Hall of Fame and Museum, presented by Dinsmore.
It's time for Almost Great Moments in Baseball History with the Redlegs Radio Report's producer Todd.
On this date in baseball, 1909, Chicago Cubs second baseman Buzz Costanza fouled a ball into the stands that knocked owner Charles Murphy's toupee off. Costanza was released the next day.
This has been Almost Great Moments in Baseball History with the Redlegs Radio Report's producer Todd. Welcome back to the Redlegs Radio Report. Sorry, I'm still laughing. Jason Harbison, Todd Smith, Andrew Henry sitting in with us this morning. Buzz Costanza.
Knocks the owner's toupee off. That's a bad day.
You need to make some more of those. You really do. That's an older one. I had to look up.
That was 5 years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, Tim and Darren were still here when you were making those. Yeah, that you need to make a couple more of those. Those are good. We'll play them from time to time. Buzz Costanza. Yes. Well, if you missed any part of our interview with Lenny Harris, you can go back and get it this week on ESPN Radio 1027.com in the podcast form there. So check it out. That was a great interview we had with him. Guys, we didn't really touch much on the although we did talk about the abysmal batting right now, the abysmal offense, if you will, of the Reds. You've got Derek Dietrich, who will not. They won't even start him versus lefties, which is maddening to me, hitting .255. I'm all about analytics and the way that the game is changing, and the matchups and all this and that. But it's like, get the guy in there. I know he's slumping against lefties, but as a lefty himself, but you got to. It's one of those intangibles like you're talking about.
I believe Tom mentioned it last night. Every left-hander is struggling against left-handed pitching.
Yeah.
So
why is Dietrich singled out on that?
Yeah, I think get Dietrich in the lineup, and you know, he's the one guy that has some pop.
Yeah, exactly. Andrew, I mean, your thoughts on Suarez? Of course, we talked about hitting .271, and Iglesias quietly .294. Puig is, 211, Senzel 256, and Winker 239. Now, Senzel's the one that kind of stands out to me. Here's a guy that's really only played a quarter of this kind of quarter season, if you will, almost half season, and he's putting up numbers that are better with, he hasn't had as many at-bats, but he's putting up numbers right there with Votto. Numbers better than Votto, better than Winker, definitely better than Puig, but he's right up there.
Oh, wait, you're
with
comparing to Votto?
Yeah.
That's tough to beat.
But anyway, Andrew, what are your...
Dad, I wish you could just shut your big yapper.
Sorry, Andrew. So anyway, your thoughts on some of those numbers those guys are putting up?
Derek Dietrich should be in the lineup like every day. So like from now on, because the way he is hitting, like why not have the hottest hitter in the lineup?
And there's even some questions too that there's like this kind of grassroots movement to get him in the home run derby up in Cleveland, his hometown, where he's from. What's your argument? Is there an argument for that? Do you think is that just a bunch of fans being homers, or do you think he can actually, put up a show in the home run derby?
I think he could put up a show with, when you see his home runs, on TV, they're some of them are far, some of them are short, but more than not, they're far and they're towering shots.
Yeah, he's crushing the ball. It's not like...
No, wait, I can't remember the rule. Do you have to make the All-Star team to be in the home run derby?
They change that every year. I don't think you have to be. I think you can be invited. And they've actually changed the voting this year. It's not like the old, like, hey, let's, put the little punch card thing that they pass down, the ushers pass down the aisle in all of the stadiums. So it's something like...
they take the top three from each position.
Yes.
And you vote, like each different team has their one representative for each position, and then the three finalists, you choose them for starters.
I think the coaches maybe take the top three of each position, and then they choose those for starters, and then they choose like the alternates or something. I forget what they're doing, but they're changing it up this year. It's kind of going by the wayside. I think it's to keep teams from stuffing the ballot boxes like the Reds did back in the, I don't know, what was the 50s or something. They did that and like their entire team went because everybody came out. This is back, of course, before the internet, and everybody just kind of came out and like, stuffed the ballot boxes and then left the game early. So, must not have been a lot going on in Cincinnati. I'm sure that'll be a Reds Hall of Fame moment, or this date in Reds baseball history will be coming up here in the coming weeks, because that's always something that people latch on to. It's like, you remember the time back in the 50s when the Reds had their entire... Yeah, well, the team wasn't that good, but everybody just went out and voted for them. So maybe that's how slow Major League Baseball is. It's taken them, 50-plus years to figure this voting thing out. But to answer your question you asked 20 minutes ago, Todd, I don't think that they have to be in the All-Star game to be in the home run derby portion of it. I think in the past there's been some guys that have... just been there for the home run derby.
I think I remember that too a couple of years ago. Yeah, put him in there. I mean, he can hit some bombs.
Why not? And while we're at it, you could probably give Lorenzen a shot up there. I remember last year people were joking around, not even half joking, I guess, that Lorenzen should be in the All-Star game home run derby.
A bunch of people were lobbying for him.
They need to just go ahead and make him a position player because he is on and off in the bullpen. And I can understand if you're trying to do both things.
Yeah, you got to switch
just
gears.
Make him a position player. I mean,
Absolutely. You got to switch gears. All right, well, one gear we got to switch is we got to shut the show down here. Thanks, Andrew, so much for coming in today. We appreciate you coming in and giving us your insight on the draft. And again, if you missed any of the Lenny Harris interview, go back and listen to it on ESPN Radio, 1027.com. And thanks, everybody. We're shutting it down for this week. We'll be back next week, same bat time, same bat channel. See you, everybody.
This copyrighted broadcast is presented by authority of the Cincinnati Reds and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any